Hey, welcome to Stuff to Blow Your Mind Trailer Talk. My name is Robert Lamb.
I'm Christian Sager.
And I'm Joe McCormick, and this is where we come on social media and talk to you guys about some movies related to things we talked about on the show.
Yeah, so we actually are a podcast. If you've never heard of us before, we do a podcast that's about science and the odd, bizarre nature of the universe. Topics that we've covered recently include animal intelligence and boxer crabs.
Yep.
We did a whole episode that came out this week, at the beginning of the week.
Tuesday.
All about the pom-pom crab or the boxer crab.
Now, what could be all that interesting about a boxer crab?
Oh, well, I mean, for starters, it's a crab, and crabs are inherently interesting and tasty if you consume crabs. But these particular crabs are fascinating because they use bioweapons. At some point, they developed this technique where they just grab sea anemones and use them like a pair of nunchucks or other martial arts weapons.
Yeah.
So they have stinging animals in their hands, and they use them to collect food and to ward off predators. It's amazing.
They're specifically bonsai anemones. So here's the funny thing. Inside joke for our fans. If you listen to the episode, someone has recently complained to us that Robert and I pronounce the word anemone differently. I think I say anemone and you say anemone. Spoilers for the episode. We still haven't quite figured out what the right pronunciation is. So hey, let us know in the comments if you know how to pronounce it better than we do.
I think it's Melanomy.
Oh, well, we've been doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Anyways, they're bonsai anemones, and what they do is they hold these in their palm, their claws actually.
Palms.
They don't have palms. Their claws are actually deformed too, specifically to hold
they're useful
these.
for nothing else except for grabbing these things and using them.
So they sweep up food on the ocean floor with these. The anemones catch it in their little tendrils, and then they just bring it right up to their mouths. They also use it to fight other predators or each other.
So who's the enemy of the boxer crab that it must fight with the anemone?
Like predators that would try to eat a crab.
His
Yeah.
enemies are legion, and
Yeah.
that's why he has these awesome
Demons,
weapons.
gargoyles, occasional sea dragons, but mostly they fight each other. And here's what's totally crazy. This is the new research that came out that we discussed on the episode. It was learned by studying these crabs that if they are fighting and one crab only has one anemone in its hand, it will rip that anemone in half and turn it into two so that it can continue fighting. It's a dual weapon fighter.
Yeah, clone weapons. It essentially it induces cloning of the organism so they can have two. And if a crab doesn't have one, it steals one from another. And so one of the tantalizing questions that came up in this study was, well, are these things even around in the wild? Could they possibly be extinct in the wild?
Yeah.
And they're only propagated via this hand-to-hand combat and wrestling amongst the boxer crabs?
That seems to be the case. The other thing
They're an agricultural product of the crab society.
now.
Yeah, that's one of the theories. So they're not exactly sure. It's probably these things still exist in the wild as well, but there is a whole lot of reproduction just by this clonal tearing apart.
The other thing I
awesome.
haven't figured out yet is, like, if you're a baby crab and you're born without one of these anemones or two of them, where do you get yours from? Do you have to, like, is there like a rite of passage where you have to fight like an
gotta
elder?
tussle.
You take one of them and then you rip that in half? We don't know yet. But these crabs are amazing. So we decided to celebrate their bizarre fighting style by watching a bunch of crab monster movies with you and talking about them.
Yeah, you can find that episode at stufftoblowyourmind.com. And also, there was an episode earlier in the year, Dangerous Foods Part 2. That had a section on the dead man's fingers in crabs. If you've ever eaten a crab, prepared a crab, torn it apart with your bare hands, then you know what I'm talking about.
Sounds filthy.
Not actually poisonous, right?
No, and not actually fingers. But still,
Or crabs.
But still
Turns
a
out.
delightful topic.
Fingers.
Just to share something with you, we had a big lunch together yesterday, and their catering provided us with vegan crab cakes. I've never heard of these before, and they're pretty awesome.
pretty good.
We actually determined that they tasted better than the real crab cakes. So, hey, try them out.
Well, without further ado, let's jump into the trailers, and we'll keep talking about crab cakes, a little science, but we'll also just talk about these fabulous trailers. This first one, I believe, is going to be King Crab Attack, a 2009 French film starring nobody, and featuring giant crabs.
So these giant crabs look like they're just attacking Paris or some seaside French town.
I don't think that's Paris.
But there's lightning.
They should attack Monaco.
Maybe the lightning is what brings the giant crabs together.
So, to be clear, none of us have seen this movie, right?
There is a surprising amount of giant crab movies.
I was going to say there's a surprising dearth of giant crab movies.
Yeah.
The giant crab subgenre really should have more going. I mean, giant crabs, it's awesome. You can name like 15 low-budget chupacabra movies, but there are apparently only like 4 or 5 crab movies.
Well, I think it hits the sweet spot of being an animal that can be very effectively created in stop motion, but also you can just take a crab and stick it in there with a model and film it, and it's going to look pretty good because it's a crab.
Speaking of which, should we go to the next one?
Okay.
The model.
Oh yes, this is going to be our prize
Here we go.
feature.
Okay, so this is a wonderful piece of garbage from the 50s called Attack of the Crab Monsters, and it was directed by the Crud Wizard himself, Roger Corman.
Yeah, so he made this in like 4 days.
Probably. 1957. I do have some interesting production facts I learned from the screenwriter Charles Griffith.
Okay.
Well, let's see. I took some notes here. So basically, this is a movie from the plot factory of one group of scientists went to an island for some reason to do some research, disappeared, and then another group of scientists and some soldiers show up to investigate.
Okay.
Ever seen a movie like that?
Yeah, it sounds like Alien.
Yeah.
But it's a planet instead of an island.
Oh, okay.
Or aliens.
Yeah, well, so anyway, that's what happens in this movie, but they quickly discover that the island is very odd. They hear these voices at night, and there are earthquakes, and there are these collapsing caves, and at the end, it turns out the culprit is a couple of giant crabs with, like, superhuman intelligence who want to take over the world.
And they look like human eyeballs.
Yeah, they've got human eyeballs.
Are we about to see one here?
Yeah, just like 4 minutes into the movie, there's this great sequence where these sailors are on an inflatable raft, and one of them falls into the water, and then his buddies pull him up out of the water, and his head's gone.
Oh, there we go.
And then so this dude goes to tell the professor about what happened, about the head removal in the sand, and the professor he says, "I hope that man's death is not an omen of things to come."
Wow, this movie.
But it is, because people end up getting killed by these crabs. In the end, I think they kill it with, I think they use like grenades to drive it into electricity or something. It's one of those type
But there's
things.
more than one, right?
I think there are a couple of them.
Wait. So a giant crab kills a man, and then the other characters think, "Ooh, I hope this doesn't mean anything bad's going to happen."
I hope this man's missing head is not an omen of things to come.
So the artwork that you might have seen at the very beginning of our live episode just now was a maquette that you can buy of the crab monster from this movie, and
did we even say the title? It's Attack of the Crab Monsters.
Yeah,
if we did not.
There
it is.
When we're off air, I will put a link to the store that sells this in our comments if you're interested. But it's gorgeous. Look at that thing. That thing looks amazing.
So Joe, what's the origin story on this movie? How was this birthed into the world?
So there's a good story. I mentioned the screenwriter is Charles Griffith. He's the same guy who wrote Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh.
He is also one of the screenwriters of It Conquered the World. You ever see that?
Which also has a freaky-looking monster. I wonder if the same creators were involved in this, right?
I don't know. It could be. I mean, It Conquered the World is a movie that seems to be an allegory about communism somehow, but the movie...
Every sci-fi movie in the 50s does.
The monster is this artichoke from Venus with an angry underbite. It's got tusks.
We learned too late that man is a feeling creature.
Exactly.
That's the inspiration for Tusk, for Kevin Smith's Tusk.
So I think It Conquered the World has come up on here before, because I can remember us quoting, "He learned too late that man is a feeling creature." But anyway, so...
Lee Van Cleef.
Where did this story come from? Can we get the trailer going back? Is that okay? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we can't have too much of this trailer.
It's a great one. So Charles Griffith, the screenwriter, tells about the origin of Attack of the Crab Monsters. He says in an interview, quote, "Roger came to me and said," and that's Roger Corman, "Roger came to me and said, I want to make a picture called Attack of the Giant Crabs. And I asked, does it have to be atomic radiation? He responded, yes." That's how it worked in the 50s, I think.
Look how great that fire looks.
How the writing process for this story was that Corman demanded that every scene have action or suspense in it. And he didn't want any just scenes of characters talking.
This trailer is bonkers.
Yeah.
I love the taglines that are popping up over it.
There's
a tidal wave of terror!
There's another great story about this that Griffith says Corman would often edit movies without noticing or paying any attention to what the actors are saying.
Okay.
So he gives an example of where there's a character in the movie that says, strange, there's no sign of life on this island. And then Corman immediately cuts to some seagulls.
And this is how we get movies like Birdemic nowadays.
I think, yeah, a similar process. But so the crab monster itself, the real star of the film, is this mechanical object that has human-looking eyes, but otherwise hobbles along like a crab with big spindly legs and claws. And so the monster itself was made of styrofoam and fiberglass put around an aluminum frame. And they had a problem when they were shooting this movie because, according to Griffith, there are scenes that are supposed to be underwater. So I guess they had a tank or something, or wherever it was they were trying to shoot underwater photography of this crab monster. They couldn't get it to sink.
Yeah.
It was too buoyant because it was made of styrofoam and fiberglass. And so they tied a bunch of metal and rocks and stuff to it to try to make it go down, but it wouldn't. It just kept popping back up.
It looks like Bob Hope is in this. Who is that guy?
I don't think so.
There's nobody of any note that's in this movie?
I mean, there were some regular Corman players, basically. Okay. Everybody's got popped collars in this movie, by the way. They're all, these stylish scientists on an island in the Pacific with atomic radiation and popped collars. But also, one last thing. So somebody's got to be underneath the giant crab, right? Somebody's operating it.
Oh, I thought you just meant in the context of the story.
No.
Yes.
So who's operating it? Well, Griffith says part of the time it was Ed Nelson, who ended up on Peyton Place.
Okay.
But another part of the time he thinks the person operating the giant crab in this movie was Jack Nicholson.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because Nicholson was
was
a Corman worker back then. He was on the sets moving stuff around before he hit it big.
The eyes are Jack Nicholson's eyes.
The eyes
like
of
he's the
Nicholson.
face model for the crab.
Yeah. It explains so much.
It doesn't really work because Nicholson has those kind of narrow, hateful eyes, and the crab monster actually has these kind of large, innocent-looking eyes.
Yeah, he's
What if you get the
kind of cute if you see
crab
the model.
monster to do Jack Nicholson lines from famous movies.
Yeah.
Wendy, give me the bat.
Can't handle the truth. But the crab monster in this movie does talk. I recommend watching this film. It is worth it. It's also, like a lot of these great double feature monster movies from the 50s, it's an hour long. Whole movie is like 62 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's all on YouTube as well. So we've got two more? Is that right? All right, what's up next?
All right, we have a Toho movie. We have Ibira, Horror of the Deep, better known, especially in the States, as Godzilla versus the Sea Monster from 1966. If you...
Oh, Mothra's in this one too?
Yeah,
it shows up. If you're a fan, like we are, of Mystery Science Theater 3000, then you probably remember this one, because this one factored into an early episode. I think I saw it for the first time on the, what was it called? It was Grandpa Munster had a monster show
what's
on
that
TBS.
guy's name? Is it like Al Lewis? Is that
Yeah, I think he was just Grandpa.
Wait, are these the little... You know how there's like the like island community of little girls that summon Mothra? They're was that them?
I believe they're in this, yeah.
Yes. All right, I want to watch this movie.
I've never seen it. So is this in the standard plot format of a new monster shows up and is worse than Godzilla, and Godzilla must fight the monster to save us?
Basically, yeah. Though I was surprised to see that the original title did not mention Godzilla, which seems odd. It seems like you got Godzilla in it, you got to mention it, but...
Was it like Monster Island Sea Monsters or something like that?
It was Ibira, Horror of the Deep.
Okay.
The adversary of Godzilla gets top billing. It was weird.
So is it really a crab, or is it just some other type
more of like
crustacean?
It's more like a lobster, really. But
But you know what? There's, like we said, you know what? You're right. There aren't enough giant crab movies.
No.
So let's get on that. If you're a filmmaker and you're watching, Be inspired. Go
I
out, make a
demand
giant boxing
more
crab
right
movie.
now.
And I would love to see one that holds the pom-poms. You know what else we should mention? A writer wrote in to tell us about a Pokemon. I don't know what its name is, but it's apparently based on this pom-pom boxer crab and has like a fighting claws that look. They don't have the anemones in them, but they're like boxing glove claws. Anybody out there know what that crab is called? That Pokemon crab?
It's called
Let us know.
Yeah.
Crabdemon.
Crab.
Well, let's go on to another trailer. We have two other ones here. Let's see which one pops up. It's probably going to be Mysterious Island, I think.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So is this Ray Harryhausen?
Yeah, Ray Harryhausen worked on this. So basically, we don't have the trailer here. We just have a scene from it. This is 1961, based on the novel by Jules Verne that's often forgotten crossover sequel to Verne's famous 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh, right.
And In Search of the Castaways.
Do they like end up on Captain Nemo's hideaway island, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Nemo's Island
It's like
factors
Lincoln
into it.
Island? Is that the name of it? It's something like that. I can't
Oh, man.
remember.
I think they call it that because they're like Union soldiers from the Civil War.
Is that
aren't
it?
they?
Okay. Yeah, there's something like that. I've never read this, but I've read a lot about it. I didn't know there was a movie version of
Yeah,
it.
the most memorable thing about it you're
Is
looking
this
at
what
is
we're looking
this
at?
crab. Yeah, it's not the classic that Disney's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is.
But still, it looks pretty amazing.
Well, that's the thing about a Harryhausen film.
Yeah.
Everything else could be forgettable, but you know that the stop motion scene is going to be incredible.
Have y'all seen the Harryhausen Sinbad movies?
Oh,
I
goodness,
haven't.
yes.
I mean, yeah, they can be really stupid.
That
plot-wise.
crab's really getting thrown around.
There's one Harryhausen movie I watched when I was a kid, Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, and it's just awful in terms, like the main character, the guy playing Sinbad, is this white dude who's just this total lug. He's like, well, I'm going to go on an adventure. And so it's kind of hilarious in that respect, but it's got amazing stop motion monsters in
Who's
it.
the villain in that? Is this the one that has...
It's got a witch is the
Oh.
villain in it, and the witch has a bronze minotaur that works for her.
Every time you say Sinbad, I'm just picturing the 90s comedian Sinbad in a Ray Harryhausen movie.
Yeah, there was one of those old Ray Harryhausen Sinbad movies that had, what's his name, Tom Baker.
Oh,
from,
really?
From Doctor
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
is the villain. It was fabulous. I got to see it at the drive-in here for...
Have you ever heard
Drive-In
Tom
Invasion.
Bake karaoke?
No.
So apparently, this
We're
is a
getting
huge,
some,
huge digression, but we've got some production stuff going on the side here, so I'll take a tangent for a second. Apparently, the British telephone service had Tom Baker record every word in the English language, and then somebody got a hold of those files, and there's a website out there called Tom Bake Karaoke, where you can type in anything, and Tom Baker's voice will say it at you.
No
Every
way.
word?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
think it's more like Siri, where they say like syllables.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Anyways, that's out there. If you don't have enough Tom Baker in your life.
All right. Well,
What's next?
I think Ramsey was trying to summon something for us.
I think it was the Pokemon. I saw.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Ah,
I think
right
I think he's about
here.
to pull the Pokemon up for us here. This fighting Pokemon.
does it have a name?
It's right over Robert. Ramsey, do you have a name for this Pokemon?
Crab roller?
Crab Roller.
Oh.
Crab
Okay.
roller. That
Okay,
does not
roller,
sound.
crab
Oh,
roller.
Crab Brawler.
Crab brawler.
Ah.
Oh, I get it.
Got it. Okay.
Like
got a
one
pun.
word.
I thought
Crab
it was
roller.
if it was Crab Roller, it would have like roller skates. It would be like a roller derby crab.
I was thinking like a
that
sushi
punches.
roll, like a crab roll. You know?
Yeah.
He's got like crunchy fried bits coming out the side, and so he crawls around.
Thanks for finding that. Our producer Ramsey off screen is really pulling it together today.
Well, speaking of sushi, we should probably move on to the last trailer we have
Yeah.
here, and this is 2006 film Crab Goalkeeper.
Oh, you showed this to us yesterday.
Yeah,
It's
So
amazing.
you've actually seen this
Yes,
movie.
I've seen actually a few different films by this director, Minoru Kawasaki. He's an absurdist comedy filmmaker in Japan. The mastermind behind Executive Koala, which is about a koala that works in a business, a big corporate environment with humans, and then goes on a rampage.
So this guy is basically Chuck Tingle making films.
No. He's far more serious. But equally absurd. There's another one he did called Calamari Wrestler, which is about a giant squid. Like each film basically features some sort of large, ridiculous costume animal, and it's
so
interacting with humans in kind of sort of serious situations.
It's not a life-size koala. It's like a giant koala that works in the office.
It's like a humanoid koala.
Okay.
Yeah. You should see it. It gets pretty dark. The koala kills somebody with a knife.
Oh no!
I'm on board. Yeah.
But this one is great because I believe the crab starts out tending a bar and is like going back and forth and moves side to side, and then the local like soccer coach or somebody sees him and says, he's perfect. Let's get him in there. He can tend the goal, and he becomes a sensation.
It looks like he's like got a love interest in this as well.
Yeah.
This is really, it warms my heart. Well, so before we talk any more over this, now's the time. If you have any questions for us, type them in now, and we'll get to them in a minute. But let's wrap up this last trailer.
I want to say that, talking about strange genres of film, this is also an animal plays professional team sport movie. I believe there were several of these from Disney back in the day. There's they're the Air Bud movies.
Air Bud, which I've always thought should be in a crossover franchise with Hellraiser. No, I don't know why I said always thought. This idea came up fairly recently in a conversation with my wife.
Do you think Air Bud would be particularly good at opening up the puzzle box?
This is what we talked about. So far into the Air Bud franchise, it turns into the Buddies movies. It's like Space Buddies, where it's a collection of small golden retriever puppies.
Okay.
And so they should make the Hellraiser crossover and call it Hell Buddies.
Well, surely that would do better than the more recent Hellraiser fare that they've been releasing. We're on like Hellraiser 12 right now, I think.
I've got to give a shout out. All credit to my wife Rachel for naming that franchise.
Okay.
There was also a film where I believe a donkey or a horse plays football.
What?
Yeah, I forget the name of this one.
Wait, what do we got here? Ramsey's pulling up something on the screen for us.
Gus.
Here. What is Gus?
That's the mule.
The mule, yes, this is the one. And I think the way it works is like there's some sort of a loophole in the rules that allows the animal to play sports. And I love that. Like, we should exploit that plot line more often.
Yeah.
Crabs playing professional soccer. I don't know, what would play baseball?
Well,
boxing crab,
I don't know
maybe.
about.
I don't know.
About that, but clearly boxing crabs should be cheerleaders.
Yeah,
they should have their pom poms. When we first posted a teaser image of the episode coming out, probably 2 weeks ago, most of you here on Facebook told us that you thought it was going to be about cheerleading crabs, and you weren't far off. That's why they're called the pom-pom crab. They also look like they're already dipped in tempura.
Yeah, there are a few different species, and the one that was covered in the study looks like it's battered and fried already. It looks delicious. It looks like a piece of KFC chicken.
So, do we have any questions? No? Okay. Well, that's okay. It's Friday morning. It's early. We've
probably thrown a lot of crabs at you.
Yeah, you're absorbing a lot of the crab information.
But here's a question. Did we miss any great giant crab movies?
Fair question.
Tell us about them.
Yeah, we will come back into this video later in the day, later in the week, and look at your comments and questions. Please let us know how to pronounce anemone and if we missed any crab movies. Anything else, guys?
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, go get your crab on.
Crabs.
StuffToBlowYourMind.com.
Crabs. And subscribe to the podcast.